Hello, this is Frank Falvey with Frank Presents, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Melanie Hamblen as a guest.
Thank you for having me here today, Frank. Thank you.
Melanie is a town councilor, an incumbent one, and my co-host for this series of candidate interviews is Steve Sherlock. Steve, how are things going on your Franklin Matters? I think I saw an email where people can sign up and receive podcasts every day.
We do have the daily email subscription, so they get the newsletter once a day with everything, as we say, that matters in Franklin. We share, as part of the collaboration, certainly with radio and TV, we share the TV schedule, radio schedule, podcasts, your Frank Presents as they come out, the Franklin Faith Forum, other productions of Franklin Radio, as the TV videos of each of the meetings are available. I'll share those out as well with whatever else is happening, current events, community calendar. So there's a lot of info that happens there.
How can they get that on a daily basis?
Very simple. You can go to franklinmatters.org or franklin.news, probably a nice, easy way to do so. It brings you to the same place, franklin.news, and there's a subscribe button. 2 steps. You just put in your email address, you'll get a confirmation, and then once you confirm, from that day forward, approximately 10, 11 in the morning, you'll get 1 email a day with everything that matters.
A great service, isn't it?
It's wonderful. The Franklin.news has really made it much easier, I think, for people to sign up. It's really good.
Yeah, and while we're at it, the long-term vision certainly of integration in this operation, you'll be able to watch one of the 3 channels, listen to either the radio or the podcast, and read the digital news. So watch, listen, read, all Franklin, all in one place.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yes.
Steve's always at all of the town council meetings. He's always at all the budget meetings.
Not all, but
He's
almost.
like everywhere. What would we do without him?
I know it. For years he's been doing it too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
quite
a
a
long
few.
time.
10?
More than that. Technically, let's see, the franklinmatters.org was born in 2007.
Okay.
So it's 16 years plus a couple of years prior to that, roughly. 1 year kind of just watching and observing, and then 1 year actually posting on my personal blog. And then people were saying, Steve, we understand you live in Franklin, but this Franklin stuff, you gonna put it somewhere else in some time? Franklin Matters got born.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Good.
So, Steve, I'm going to begin by asking Melanie Hamblen, what is your background? Tell us a little about who you are.
Who I am and where I grew up and all that.
Yeah, all that.
Because my Franklin story doesn't start in Franklin. I start in Lexington, Massachusetts, but I'm Massachusetts, born and raised.
And what town did you say?
Lexington.
Oh, Lexington.
Yeah. I was born at the Peter Bent Brigham Hospital in Boston. There was no suburban hospitals at the time, so they had to go into Boston to deliver babies in there.
On Longwood Avenue?
Yep. Yep.
I'll tell you a funny story about that's where I was born. And later I'll tell you a funny story about
Connections, all the connections. Probably everyone around, was born there. But so I've lived in Lexington for a long time. I graduated high school in Lexington. I went to Roger Williams College, which is now a university. I got a job at Brandeis University, worked in circadian rhythm research for 12 years. The work that I did, the basic part of that work that I did, actually won a Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016. It was all this. It was the very beginning of figuring out what part of a gene works. It's very interesting, cutting edge for the time, but now people would just laugh at it, right? I worked there, and then I lived in Waltham for a while because I worked there. I could walk to the work. Then I moved to Westwood, and I started to work at Boston Children's Hospital. I spent 17 years there as a research scientist. I went from fruit flies as my study object to blood development, human blood development, human cancers. How does blood develop from the stem cell, and what happens when the stem cell goes wrong? That's when you get cancer, right? And so I spent 17 years in there. We moved from Westwood to Franklin. So now I'm finally in Franklin in 2010. And I went on the train. So I went on the train for 17 years to get into Boston Children's. We moved out to Franklin with the idea that in 5 years I would have a different job. So I wouldn't have to go on the train. So that was my goal. But it took 6 years. But after 6 years, then we bought the Franklin Agway and used sort of our hobbies and our passion for growing things and helping people learn how to be good stewards of the earth and not use poisons, use the organics things. And so we used that to have a new job. And so my husband Neil and I bought a new job, and we own the Franklin Agway now.
Wow.
And so then we bought that in 2016. 2017, I ran for my first term on the town council. I did that because I always feel like, it's really important to participate in local government if you can. And I'll be like, hey, you guys you gonna vote this term? What's gonna happen? And people would be like, no, I'm not gonna vote. Everybody, it's always the same people. It's always the same thing. And I said, well, if I run, will you vote? Like, you don't have to vote for me if you want to. You don't have to, but just go and vote, please. And so that's why I ran for the first time. I would say that I have become a municipal government enthusiastic person because I know now what it can do for people's everyday lives and how important it is. And so I represent Franklin in the Mass Municipal Association. I'm on one of the energy and environment policy committees for them, and so I get to work with people all from all different towns across the state, and I learn that we are really lucky here in Franklin, that we have a lot of stuff going on, and we have a group of people that works together, and that's why we can do everything we do. So I guess that's my Franklin story. Did I take too long?
No,
I'm sorry. Okay.
No. Your story is your story, long or short. I mean, we want it to be longer because we want to be here for a while too. So.
Okay. All right.
And I think you touched on, we can segue from the background, and you touched on kind of engagement aspect. And one of the key pieces clearly is voting. And apparently you've been certainly fairly active on that. Can you elaborate a little more about our responsibility as individuals to be part of and vote? And we've got 2 elections coming up, certainly October 24th for the Tri-County School, and then November, vote on our representatives, town council, school committee, planning board, yada, 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 et cetera. So,
yeah, Board of Assessors, constables. I never say that right.
Yeah.
Constables, yeah.
yeah.
Well, so you have people that have always their whole life have been really into civics and into voting. I always think that it doesn't really matter when you get excited about it, as long as you do at some point in time. Like, I think sometimes people say, well, if somebody never votes, should they run? And I'm like, well, you never know when that passion is going to turn on in your head. You never know when you get that aha moment. And so I don't think people should be punished for not having their aha moment when they were in 7th grade, when they didn't run for school council or whatever, school president. I think it's good. It's really important. And I hope that by even having this discussion with you today, people can see how excited I get about it and how passionate I am. and that it makes a difference, right? So, did that answer your question?
No, I think it did, and they answered it in your way, which is really the key piece that we're trying to do is certainly present your info, your background, your skill set, so that the voters can make an informed decision when they come to November. So picking up on that, since I did a nice segue purposely,
What do you?
you've discussed circadian rhythms and fruit flies, and you got a science background. But what particularly amongst those are the skills that you bring to the role that you've now going for fourth term?
Yeah. Yes, it will be. I will be running for my fourth term. So I have almost 6 years under my belt. It takes about that much time to actually understand how things run, I think. So one of the things I think is that I have that maybe other people don't have, but I think it's important for everyone, is that I like to look at facts. I like to be able to discern the facts and look at them, and I separate myself from the facts and figure out what's the best answer. I like to problem solve. I like to maybe find a consensus in the scattered ideas and maybe if you look at your data plot, right, you got to find the consensus and what's the trend. Recently, a friend of mine had started to watch the economic development subcommittee meetings that I chair, and she said to me that she goes, you have a friendly assertiveness that is very rare in people. And so maybe that is what I bring. I bring this friendliness so people feel like they can participate and not be made fun of, or that they're wanted and welcome in the chambers. And it's just, I think it's really important to bring people in, and I guess another thing would be my my desire to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think I've spent the past 20 months learning about zoning. Really, I mean, I've been doing it, but it's taken 6 years. But the last 15 months have been what does this really mean, and how do we get to where we want to be? And I think that's it's a lot to ask for in a volunteer position, but if you have the passion, if I can't give my 100% to this position, to me it doesn't matter if it's volunteer, if I get paid. Right? If I can't give 100%, I can't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I still think we have some things we can do.
Yeah, yeah. I think from my observation, certainly watching and working with you, helping you, because we've done 8 podcasts on the zoning series.
Everybody should listen to the podcast that Stephen Colby and I did. And there was one we had our open office hours, and Kobe and I were discussing something, and I said, "Steve, we need to record this right. We need to record this right now." But because I wanted people to understand the journey and the change of my ideas, and how did I get to where I got, and to follow me, and to follow all of us on this journey to figure out what things really mean.
Sure.
Right. And so Steve was so gracious. He's like, "Okay, you can come down to the." Come down to the studio and we'll record this conversation, and then we have 9, I think, so far.
8 complete. We've been toying with whether it's the 9th or 10th. We've got more topics to cover, but we haven't gotten there yet.
It's just very interesting, I think.
Yeah. I think to summarize, I see at least some of your scientific approach in terms of research, digging into the details, looking at the facts, and then bringing that kind of the human side. So, I know when we first talked, I said, we need to do an interview, and you said, well, I do want to do it on paper. And I said, no. You're not going to do it on paper because your laugh and your presence doesn't come across on paper. Yeah. People need to hear your voice, because then they'll know, oh, that's Melanie.
Oh, yeah, they'll remember it. I did have somebody who had been listening to the podcast or one of the meetings, and she heard me laugh in the bookstore. I was in the bookstore, and she goes, "I think I know you. I listened to your voice." And I'm like, "Oh, no."
See?
Because I don't like the sound of my own voice.
Well, and you're not alone in that. You probably heard from almost everyone you've interviewed that people don't like the sound of their voice, but we can't change that.
Yeah.
We don't want to go to the AI route and whatever. No.
No, I know. It's just because it sounds different
Yeah,
to your.
we'll just make sure the accuracy is and the quality is there. So, last key question for me is: you're in the town council, and we've got this budget every year. It's getting a little bit more challenging. How do you explain to any of the residents as they come forward to you is like, how do you prioritize amongst the budget? How do you make decisions?
Do you mean make sure I really understand the question? But I'll just talk, and then they can like tell me I'm going in the wrong direction. So we have fiscal policies that we have to follow. So we know like what things have to be, where does money come from? Where do we put funds? There's I can't remember the name of it.
You have stabilization
funds. Thank you.
Right, which have resulted in we now have a AAA rating, so financially we can get the best interest rate.
Yeah.
We are financially stable. We're not finding money. We have what we need to, but unfortunately, based upon the budget forecast, we quite don't have enough to continue to provide the services.
I hope people out there have actually seen the papers, the projected deficits from the joint budget subcommittee meetings, and also and listen to the FinCom meetings. I think it's pretty scary when you look out to 2027 and there's a cumulative negative of deficit of $10 million, right? And so, like, what do we do about that? Well, we just cut all the services, like $10 million in services, and by the time we're in 2027, that's going to be really. I think we're kind of all used to this certain level of services, and I think it's not like it's a lot. It's not like it's extra flamboyant or anything. No. It's just basic stuff, right? We can allow for new growth, so that we can build that side of the budget up a little bit, and then or there's an override because we don't have enough revenue. It's pretty obvious.
Right.
If you look at that proposal, I think it's fund year 2026, 2026 is it gets pretty scary, right? Or even 2025.
Yeah. 2025 is next year, and then 2026 is next year because we're in the fiscal year. Yeah. They're 1 year later.
26 is pretty scary.
Yeah.
And so it's up to people to decide what they want to do, though. I mean, like, I have my ideas, but I'm not everybody, right? And maybe what I want to do is not best for all of Franklin, but I think it is because I like follow it and study it, right. It's a tough thing, like to have to keep asking for more money from people. That's why I really think it's important to try to build new growth, to build our commercial and industrial areas, and so that it's not quite a strain.
Right.
Melanie, on that same subject then, twice the town council has moved money out of their budget into a fee. They did it with the water and the sewage. They took it out of the town budget, set up a separate fee, which then allowed the town to spend more money and didn't allow the taxpayer to deduct it on their income taxes. Then they just recently did it again with the storm water fee.
Yeah.
They moved it out of the town budget into a separate fee, which allowed the town to spend more money, did not allow...
Collect more money.
Huh?
Collect more money, too.
Didn't allow the taxpayer to deduct it on their taxes. But not only did they do that, they charged nonprofits and religious organizations the fee
That's right.
unanimously.
Yeah.
It was a unanimous vote. That, to me, seems to be at a double purpose. The purpose of nonprofits and religious organizations, the thought has always been they should be exempt from those fees because of the nature of the organization. You have a different opinion on that. What is your opinion?
Well, so it's not they're exempt from the fees. They're exempt from property taxes, right? So that the fees for stormwater utility, the stormwater permit came out of property taxes,
Right.
right?
Which we're exempt from.
Which what? Right,
Which
so they're
they
exempt
were
from.
exempt from.
Right. And so you have this permit that's a non-funded federal permit requirements from the EPA that we have to do all this work. They're not going to help us fund it, but luckily we got some money from the COVID relief funds to be able to work on some of our structures. So we have that. But we were taking a huge chunk out of the operating budget to pay for it. So we could continue to take money out of the operating budget to pay for it, but which we still will have to for a while because it's going to cost a lot of money. It's like over $1 million a year. It's going to be $2 million next year. That if we took that out of the operating budget, we would have already had to have made huge cuts. And so this is one of the things that I like to say is like there's not a perfect answer, right? We just tried to find the best thing we could find for the best solution to the problem. So what do we do if it's just in property taxes? Then people can't really get a break on it. Like you can right. So we pulled it out of the operating budget and created a utility fee. So with the fee, that means that we can you can get abatements, you can get credits, you can have all kinds of money saving in that, and then at the same time, people get charged for the amount of impervious coverage that they have. So say like my building is all parking lot, so I have to pay a lot more for that stormwater fee than you would at your house, and that's the way it should be.
Well, we're missing the nonprofits, but
but
I
the
have a
nonprofits too.
follow-up. You're talking about 26, 27. Are you
Yeah.
anticipating that the answer to that problem is moving more items out of the town budget into fees?
No.
And that way you leave room to spend more money in the town budget and you could charge the police as a fee for the town. Or you could charge school costs
I would.
as a fee, like you're doing on the school committee, you're doing on transportation, in sports, and other items. So is that the solution that the town council is going to be looking to do where they've already done it twice?
I would say no.
Yeah.
I think there's only a certain amount of things that you can use for utilities. I guess so. What you do is you pull that out, and the money that's collected can only get spent for that purpose. I have never heard anyone suggest that we should do it for everything, and I think that would be pretty scary. But
Yeah, it's kind of.
But you've done it twice already, so it's something that seems to be an answer to your fiscal problem. And my concern would be, first of all, I have an overwhelming concern that you're charging nonprofits and religious organizations. But it seems like maybe that's the direction the town council wants to go.
well, I don't think it's what we want to do. It's like the best possible solution, so that since we don't collect property taxes from them, then if they pitch into this fee, then it will help us do all the work we have to do. And
it
it's sort of like a teamwork
It makes their
thing.
costs more expensive, so
It does, yeah.
it makes student tuition higher. It makes religious
everybody-
organizations
everything.
maybe go out of business.
Yeah.
It makes small nonprofits that have large parking lots or something pay more money. But I have to end that there because I have to ask you, what is the
It's like
thing
the timer.
that I haven't asked you that you'd love to talk about?
It's like we're already done. I guess one of the things I think about why I want to run again, right, is that I'm on the master plan committee. I'm on the subcommittees for the sustainability and the open space and natural, cultural, and historical resources. So I want to continue to do that, to grab all information from people, to do the public outreach, to get their thoughts. And also there's still some of the zoning issues we want to do from the Franklin for All project that we ran. There's a few more things that I want to do from that. And also I'm really excited and happy about, I was thinking like, well, what are the three top things that I'm really proud of this term? So I go through, just so you know, Frank, I go through the goals that we set up every term. So we have these goals, like which ones did we reach, and then what did we do and which subcommittee I'm on, and then I put down what I want to do next, like what, so people know like where I'm coming from. So, and I haven't got that ready yet. So I will have it. It will be on my Facebook page, Melanie Hamblen for Franklin Town Council. And so one of the things I think was really great was that people are always saying that there's no place to park downtown. No one was using the commuter spaces, so there was all these open spaces that nobody could park in. So we changed that. So we got rid of it. It's not commuter parking anymore. It's open to everyone.
Well, Melanie Hamblen, incumbent
Thank you,
for Town
Frank.
Council,
Yes.
running again.
Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Steve.
No.
And this is Frank Falvey with Frank Presents, encouraging you to see the three of us on November 7th in front of the Franklin High School Gymnasium from 6 to 8 o'clock during the day and night. And we also want to throw in a reminder that October 24th, there'll be another voting opportunity to vote on the Tri-County new school. So from Steve and Melanie and Frank Falvey, have a good day or evening, and we look forward to seeing you on October 24th and November 7th. Thank you.
This program was made possible by your Franklin friends and neighbors, good folks just like you. Thanks for supporting Franklin TV. And thanks for watching.